So what do all these products have in common? If you guessed they're consumables, you'd be right. Every year we do maintenance on our race car, and one of the things that we change every year is the race studs. This year we're going to install Motorsport Hardware's new endurance studs. It has a bullet nose for fast start. You remove it via double nut that I'll show later. It's 2 times as strong as their current race studs, and it fits up to 20 mil spacers. We also have a set of their extended lug nuts. One of the nice features is this knurling at the end that allows you to finger tight it much quicker. And compared to standard lug nuts, these should be way easier to install. These are the race studs from last year that we're going to change out. Now on ours we use red Loctite to keep them in, and so we have to apply heat right here to back them out. Now on these you can use an Allen wrench to turn them to get them out. Now here's a shot of the old ones installed and the new ones that we're going to put on. This one has a bull nose, which means you have to use 2 lug nuts to turn them on and off, where these old ones you can use an Allen wrench to turn them and install and uninstall them. Alright, so one of the things you have to be mindful of is how do you keep the whole thing from rotating. The easiest way I've found is you can take a screwdriver, you can put it in one of the vent slots in the rotor, and just gently rotate it against the caliper. That way when you're rotating it, it keeps it all in place. Alright, let's talk about Loctite. Now we use red, but you can certainly use blue. But if you use red, when you go to get it off, you have to use heat. The best way to do it that we found is some MAP gas from Benzomatic. You just heat up the stud right at the base, maybe 20 to 30 seconds, and off it comes. Alright, so let's start adding some heat. Just apply it right at the base of the stud and work your way around. You'll probably have to do this to all the studs because you certainly don't want to break one off. In reality, that was probably only 20 or 30 seconds, but once it's heated up enough, grab your Allen wrench and slightly turn. If it's bound up, give it some more heat. This one, not too stuck, so we got it right out. Now you'll see when I pull this off, you'll see the residue, what's left of the red Loctite. That's what's holding it in place, and that's what you have to basically get to powder form. Okay, the next step is pretty simple. We're going to be applying some Loctite to this end of the stud. You can use red or blue. We use red and have never had a problem with it, but just remember you'll have to use heat to get it out. So just put a dot on the end. You don't need to smother it. That's enough. Alright, now it's just time to screw it in. You'll get it almost all the way tightened, and then we'll have to use the double nut trick that I'll show you here in a second. And just like when we removed them, you also need to stop the rotor from turning. So just use the same screwdriver that you use, put it in one of the vents on the bottom this time, and let it bottom out on the bottom of the caliper. This will just hold it in place as you're tightening up the stud. Alright, simple trick just to get this tightened. Take 2 lug nuts, they could be used, doesn't need to be new. Thread one on, get it about halfway. You just want to have enough thread so when the second lug nut gets tightened that it's got a good grip. So tighten this one about halfway through. And then tighten the other one until it bottoms out. And then we'll grab 2 box wrenches to get these tight. Okay, so just place one box wrench on one of the nuts and the other one on the other nut. Rotate this one counterclockwise, this one clockwise, kind of against each other to tighten them up. And then simply just turn the outer lug nut. It'll grab the inner one and the whole thing will rotate as one member. Once it's nice and tight, just grab your other wrench, hold the inner lug nut in place, and just rotate it the opposite way on the outside. That'll loosen it up. Then you can loosen up the outer one and then the inner one. Rinse, repeat. Once you get all the studs installed, just simply clean them off using some brake cleaner and an old rag. Now there are two things to keep in mind when you put your lug nuts on. Never use anti-seize, and don't put on your lug nuts when the wheel studs are hot.